Welcome to the Fans Talk Podcast family at fanstalkpodcast.com. This is episode 46 of Fans Talk TNA, and this week we're going to cover the September 2nd, 2015 episode of Impact Wrestling on Destination America, as well as the rest of the news and notes that happened this week in TNA. My name is Garvin. With us, as always, is Nick. Say hello, Nick.
Howdy, howdy.
This week, we're going to talk about, basically the GFW versus TNA feud. It got real. So real that Dixie puts her shares of the company on the line. And, you have to question, are we going to get the merger that most are expecting with GFW taking over TNA completely? Or will this be just another notch in the bedpost of TNA versus groups trying to take over? This episode of Fans Talk TNA has been brought to you by our friends over on Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, Patreon subscribers get early access to our episodes, as well as bonus content that only they can hear. If you aren't subscribing, give us a go at patreon.com/Fans Talk, and all of those links, as well as the full archive, are available at fanstalktna.com. All right, Nick, so the biggest stories going into this week was the Dixie versus Jarrett relationship, the whole TNA versus GFW feud, as well as EC3 versus Hardy. But I think we should just cover the most important, at least as far as TV time goes, and that was TNA versus GFW. What happened this week about it that you liked, or that stood out to you the most, at least?
I thought it was a really interesting move that they co-opted Magnus's Feast or Fire briefcase. Magnus, now known as Nick Aldis, his real name. I didn't really see that coming. We know that Aldis is now with GFW. He's doing shows for them. But, I never would have figured that even in absentia, he would turn on TNA that hard. And that, he would... I didn't even know he could pass ownership of a briefcase like that. So...
I thought the same thing, but then I remembered that basically the briefcase that was owned by Robbie E. went to Velvet Sky.
Yeah, but she was the one to take it down.
And she wasn't in the match, but still.
Yeah, I mean, at least there was a clear chain of events that you could point to. It's like, well, you took it down, so I guess it's yours.
Sure. Yeah, I was surprised too, but yeah, at the end of the day, it worked really well for me. Just the fact that, that they aren't just taking over by destroying everyone. They're not just taking over by Jeff Jarrett, booking these matches because he has the power to do so. It was more or less like, here is a rule that is in place and we are going to follow it and take advantage of it. And I thought that was an interesting way to go about it. So yeah, I was all for the cash in. Yeah, it was kind of odd that they got the briefcase. It was just handed to them. I kind of wish we had Magnus on TV to, do that physically, like hand over the briefcase or show his allegiance to GFW. It was just kind of talked about. So I thought that part of it was kind of awkward. But, the fact that they cashed it in, the fact that Trevor Lee and Brian Myers are now your tag team champions by hook or by crook, I thought was a pretty cool move overall.
Yeah. I don't mind the move at all. I do kind of wish that Magnus had chosen a partner from GFW and done it himself. But, I love Trevor Lee as a character, as a wrestler. And Brian Myers is no slouch either, so we're definitely not losing out here.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. At the same time, it would be kind of weird for him to just... I don't know. I guess...
Yeah, that'd be a really abrupt turn.
Yeah. I mean, on one hand, I just said that I would have liked for him to physically hand that over and pledge his allegiance to GFW, but on the other hand, it would come out of nowhere because that is... completely out of character for him, especially with the name change and so I don't know, it would be kind of odd, but at the end of the day, like you said, I like the title change. I like how they're going about doing this now. The other big match that happened because of this was Lashley versus Mordeski. Basically Chris Mordeski was, I think, maybe I misheard, but I think Karen said that he was the guy that took out Bully and took out Drew for them.
Yeah. Yeah, you heard right.
Yeah, so and basically he was just calling out the roster, saying that he's looked at the roster, he's not impressed, he could beat anyone. Lashley comes out, and what did you think about this match?
I thought it was decent. I don't think Mordetsky is as good as Lashley is, but you know, he's decent at least. And yeah, I guess that's about all I could say about it. I did like the match, but you know, it didn't wow me.
No, I mean it wasn't fantastic by any stretch of the imagination, but I thought I thought it did well to show what Chris Mordetsky could do, especially up against a guy of the caliber of, you know, Lashley. If you look at this strictly storyline based, strictly, you know, Lashley being a former champion, being almost taken to the limit by Mordetsky, as far as Mordetsky looked like at times that he could defeat Lashley. I think that really put that into a good perspective for GFW and that message that they're trying to send here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it wasn't a great match overall. It ended with the interference. Basically, Lashley won by a DQ. I'm feeling like we're going to get a lot of that, and we did get a lot of outside interference, or at least outside movement enough to cause people to miss getting pins, miss getting submissions, all that sort of thing, just because the ref was getting involved. Or, you know, even look at the Bobby Roode versus PJ Black match for the King of the Mountain Championship. That came on, I think, about mid-card. And yeah, it to me, I don't want to see that kind of heelish involvement in every single match. But historically now, if you look at last week, if you look at this week, I think that's pretty much all we're going to get. Do you feel the same way?
It definitely seems like that. And I'm with you. I don't like that in every scenario. With a title match, it makes sense because there's stakes. You don't want PJ Black to drop the belt to Bobby Roode. And so, yeah, that made sense. With things like Lashley versus Mordetsky, things where nothing but pride is on the line, I'm okay with that happening sometimes, but not all the time like we've been seeing these past couple weeks. It's an effective heel tactic, but it loses its effectiveness the more you use it. So I hope that they eventually start scaling back on that. And it kind of helps that there are some guys on the GFW side that don't look like they would make that much use of it. PJ Black is one guy, and well, I said a bunch, but really he's the only one I could think of. now that I think about it, I was thinking Trevor Lee and Brian Myers, but that didn't happen that way at all. So.
Right? Yeah, and you know, like what really bothers me about storylines like this is that historically you have a big power group come in and say, you know, they're going to take over and they're better than anyone else on the roster. But generally speaking, when they are coming from the heel perspective, which is the normal route, they always lean on this kind of like gang mentality for whatever reason. So instead of beating someone cleanly or beating someone just by demolishing them altogether. Like, look at how they build every single big guy that ever comes in. You know, and this isn't TNA. This is wrestling specific. You bring in a big guy. He's built as a monster, and he destroys people in squash matches for 5 weeks straight, or 2 months straight, or whatever it may be. I don't understand why they don't borrow some of that thought process when they build stables like that. Like, the stables are coming in with the same, like we're better than everyone else on the roster, where we can out wrestle everyone, yet we never see it.
Yeah, I do have a theory that in this case of GFW that will come with just the seemingly random assortment of guys that they've got. Mordetsky, Lee and Myers, PJ Black, Sanjay Dutt. None of them really seem like a unit. Yeah, they're all under GFW, but none of them are a group.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, like with the reversal that GFW suffered with PJ Black, it makes me wonder if eventually they're going to start dropping the ball more often, and Jeff Jarrett's going to get tired of dealing with it all and just wipe the slate clean by bringing in another group. Like, I've seen theories that that's when he brings in the Bullet Club, like Gallows and Gunn, the Young Bucks, AJ Styles, guys like that,
Yeah.
and just starts cleaning house all over the place.
I could definitely see that. I have not read that theory personally. I wouldn't mind it, but at the same time, like I like PJ Black. I like Trevor Lee and Brian Myers. Chris Mordesky, I think is a good worker overall. So I think that they could still do well with the group that they have. I mean, you compare this GFW stable versus the Aces and Aids before Bully Ray was involved, or before Devon was officially involved, and that was a terrible stable, a group of guys that couldn't beat anyone.
Yeah, the difference here is night and day.
Yeah. So, but when they first came in, when we had that first event of GFW versus TNA, when the commentators started talking about this feud that we were not seeing or feeling on TV, that night I think was the best showcase of what the GFW talent can do. Like when PJ Black won the King of the Mountain Championship, I thought that was a great showing of what he can do. I just want more of that. I want to see the truth in what Jarrett is preaching here.
Mm-hmm. You bringing up commentary and the way everybody handled that initial night makes me think of something else, and that's with GFW ganging up on everybody now. Why are we sending out guys piecemeal to be destroyed? That initial confrontation, everybody pours out of the back to take on the GFW guys, and as far as they know, they're just here for one night just to have a super card. But now that there's a legitimate hostile, let's use correct terminology, corporate hostile takeover, now, what, is everybody knocked out backstage? Are they just hiding in the closet somewhere? Or what's going on? Where is everybody?
Yeah, I'm with you. It's like everyone backed up EY for whatever reason, but like, where's Mr. Anderson now? Where is Chris Melendez now? Like, just putting that into perspective, the night that shouldn't have brought everyone out, that's when everyone came out. But yeah, now it's the Wolves just coming out, or Lashley just coming out, but one at a time. And yeah, they're never gonna win. It is really weird. GFW comes out in one unit, and I think that's cool. But we need to see more of TNA doing that. But now that Drew seems to have partnered up with Lashley, the Wolves, maybe we will see that now.
Yeah, I hope so. And I'm wondering when Rude is going to join that party, because Galloway did help him prevent Sanjay from interfering. So it seems only right that eventually he should return the favor.
Yeah.
Kind of like when AJ Styles helped the Main Event Mafia with Aces and Eights.
I'm curious, actually. Like, I'm almost expecting the opposite. Not necessarily that he would join GFW, but that he would stay like that tweener. That he wouldn't choose a side. He just would not get involved, because he's made it very clear that he looks at TNA as disrespecting him, the same way Jeff Jarrett and GFW disrespected him. So
yeah, but when he came out against PJ Black, he emphasized that he's a TNA guy. He's a TNA original. That he's doing this for himself, the boys in the back, the people in the Impact Zone.
Yeah.
Like, he was playing the TNA card very, very heavily. I did get a sneaking suspicion at one point, like immediately after he won the match, and Jarrett's music hits, and he's looking up towards the ramp, grinning. That made me wonder if he was turning on TNA then, and maybe that was a backstab move against PJ Black. But yeah, apparently that's not the case.
Yeah. So and let's be clear, if you haven't watched Impact this week, Bobby Roode defeated PJ Black. He's your new King of the Mountain champion. Overall, are you happy that Roode did what he said that he was going to do, which is, prove everyone wrong, prove everyone that's disrespected him that they made a mistake, and win that title?
I'm happy about that. I am disappointed that it happened at PJ Black's expense, because he barely got a chance to do anything with that title. And, that sort of failure makes me wonder if he's going to get a chance to redeem himself. But, yeah, overall, I am satisfied with what happened. I'm glad Rude's holding gold. I'm glad that Rude is in a prominent spot.
Yeah, yeah, I'm happy with it as well. PJ Black is a strange character. Like, he doesn't really have much in the charisma department. He doesn't really have much in the character department. Like, anytime they go back to him backstage, he's like, it's very short and sweet, or he's on his cell phone, or like he's just not interacting a whole lot. And it's just kind of odd that like it's almost as if he's too cool to, do the promos or do the backstage mic time or anything like that. It's just odd. Like, he just comes off odd for me.
He's South African Hardy, is what he is.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, but he doesn't start his own chance, so he's got that for him. So the other big thing that happened this week, as far as GFW versus TNA, alluded to it in the intro. Dixie Carter came out to confront Jeff Jarrett and basically said that it's obvious that they're not going to be able to work together. I don't know how she got to this point in her decision making because it just seemed kind of abrupt. But we have Dixie Carter, sort of. I mean, I guess she's putting the team together. I think that's what was basically alluded to at the end of the event when we got the little video preview for next week. But yeah, it's basically Team TNA, which is right now it stands as Drew, the Wolves, and Lashley versus Team GFW. I'm guessing you've got Trevor Lee, Brian Myers, Chris Mordesky, PJ Black.
I'm guessing that Jarrett's going to head that team up because he did talk about, why my guys respect me is because they know I'm willing to get in the trenches with them.
Oh, that's true.
And
yeah.
he does have that beef with Galloway that nobody else really seems to have.
Sure. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 with Jarrett, and it's Drew, Wolves, Lashley. So that's 4. It's going to be a loser leaves TNA match, basically, where if Team TNA loses, Dixie Carter leaves TNA. She's done. But if they win, then GFW leaves. That's happening in 2 weeks. It's going to be in a lethal lockdown match. Mm-hmm. Too soon?
I don't think so. I'm betting that GFW is winning. Seems to be the direction things are heading. And I don't really see this angle continuing if GFW loses. I guess there could be some kind of corporate shenanigan going on where Jarrett finds some way to stick around. But
well, he is an owner in some respect. So.
Yeah, but if he loses, he gives up all his shares. So
that's true.
So he wouldn't have any. As far as we know, he wouldn't have any excuse to stick around.
Yeah,
I think that's highly unlikely. I think GFW is winning.
Yeah, I think it's too soon. I think if you're gonna go for a major climax like that, I mean, like, this is a big deal, right? Like, this is a big story. Like, why are they doing this on Impact in 2 weeks, especially when you have Bound for Glory coming up in a month?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna equate this to Star Wars, and I think this is the Revenge of the Sith moment.
Okay,
where it sets up the evil empire. Jarrett ascends to the throne and he's raining terror upon the TNA locker room. And I'm guessing Bound for Glory maybe later will be the Empire Strikes Back moment, TNA's darkest moment, before, they find their salvation in some manner. Yeah. I don't really know what that would be. Like, maybe Jarrett decides to stop being a dick and decides to start being a good guy, or somebody else comes in. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know either. It does to me feel a little too soon, but I do like that idea that this is just the setup, the official takeover, and then that gives us some time to continue to build TNA's side of it. So, all right. Well, obviously we've got 2 more weeks to talk about this and potentially more as far as the GFW versus TNA feud. Overall, I'm digging it. I don't know about you. I don't know about you listening if you're also enjoying it, but definitely let us know. You can leave a comment and all the stuff as far as YouTube and all that stuff. If you are a Patreon subscriber, also you can leave a comment on the Slack community, which is pretty cool as well. Kenny King versus Bram happened. It was a one-off thing. Basically, Kenny King cut a promo saying, he was basically acknowledging that he was no longer with the BDC, and he no longer wanted to be the guy who cheap shotted someone else. He wanted to straight up, be the king, be the, the real deal. So takes on Bram. Bram defeats him and quickly leaves.
I don't understand what the point of that was. Obviously, this was taped before Bram's recent troubles with law enforcement, but you bring Kenny King back, you turn him face, you let him do this promo about becoming the king and becoming a benevolent monarch, and you bring Bram out, who's done basically nothing since Slammiversary, and you have him beat him. It's a waste.
It was a good match, though.
Yeah, it was all right.
I mean, to me, this was the match of the card. Rude versus PJ Black was pretty good, but I mean, as far as the unexpected, Bram versus Kenny King, I thought was a really good match for them. But yeah, that ending with the fact that Kenny King lost after that speech. I mean, I got excited for the fact that, okay, well, Kenny King's back on his own, and here he is talking pretty confidently. Maybe they will finally give him that singles push that we've been hoping for the last 2 years.
Yeah, the one he hasn't had since RVD was around.
But just Bram, dropping the football in the end zone and walking back and not talking to anyone. It was just so weird.
Yeah, I mean, act like it's something of an accomplishment. Act like you beat a worthy contender.
All right, so we got 2 more things to go over, and I think we'll talk pretty briefly on the first one. I know I will, but Velvet Sky calls out the Dollhouse, calls out Taryn. That seems to be where they're going next as far as the next big major challenger for Taryn, at least. Not necessarily for the title, but for Taryn. So Taryn versus Velvet Sky is what they're building. Taryn is hurt, obviously, from what happened with her and Gail Kim. So Taryn sends out the Dollhouse. Velvet Sky has backup. And the beautiful people are back together as if nothing has happened over the last 2 years. The fact that Velvet and Angelina Love feuded for so many months. Just recently they fought.
Yeah, I don't like the abruptness of the reconciliation, and I get it. It's the new power trio in the Knockouts division going up against the OG power trio, but it's not going to last. We know Angelina Love's pregnant.
Right.
Madison Rayne just got married. I want to say she's pregnant again.
Well,
I don't remember.
But you're okay. You're looking at spoilers, dude. You're looking at
that's not a spoiler. That's something that everybody and your mother.
I know,
is
but you're looking
acknowledging.
at outside reasoning. The story alone, this doesn't make sense. Velvet just basically partnered up with Brooke and Gail to take on the Dallas. Why didn't they just continue that way?
Yeah, where is Gail? I get why Brooke's not involved. We want to have Knockouts title matches again, but did Gail just decide the Dollhouse is done and over with, that she doesn't need to deal with him anymore now that she's broken Taryn's hand?
Yeah. Yes. For some reason, Velvet Sky decided, exactly. She wasn't going to partner with the person that broke Taryn's hand. She wasn't going to partner with the champion that took the title off of Taryn. Instead, she's going to call 2 people to her side that she has hated for the last year.
I mean, I get the rationale that
absurd.
I get it. I get why they teamed back up. Angelina and Madison's whole thing was, you got fired. You don't belong here anymore. Well, she proved she did. So I get how they can rebuild that bridge. It's just, you had viable opponents against the Dollhouse before. Why do the beautiful people care? It's not like the Dollhouse are legitimate threats to anybody without Taryn.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. All right, and that leads us to the main event. Matt Hardy challenging EC3 for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. And if EC3 won, Jeff Hardy becomes his assistant. EC3 won. Are you ready for Matt Hardy? I'm sorry. Are you ready for Jeff Hardy and his backstage segments being the new assistant for EC3?
I am definitely ready for Suit Hardy.
Suit Hardy. Okay. You throwing that out, and I'm my ears perked.
EC3 did say that he had his personal tailor Angelo make up a suit for him, so I'm expecting him to wear it at least once.
Purple?
Probably.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, he'll probably be EC3's colors, so maybe like pink or lavender.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the match was all right. Gets Matt out of the way for a little bit. I'm expecting that Matt won't make another push for the title. I'm thinking if a Hardy does challenge for it again in the near future, it's going to be Jeff.
Yeah, and that's definitely where it looks like they're going as far as the next fight. As far as for the championship, who's going to take on EC3 for that title next? And now that Matt's out of the picture, there is no one else in that picture outside of Jeff. So yeah, I could easily see them just do backstage segments for the next few weeks, and then have a Jeff versus EC3 match at Bound for Glory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gonna be in. It's gonna be done here.
Yeah,
Hardy country.
All right, so that was basically all that took place this week on Impact. In 2 weeks, we're going to get the TNA versus GFW Lethal Lockdown match. Again, it's going to be 2 weeks on an Impact. Maybe they'll call the Impact Lethal Lockdown, or I don't know. We'll see. But
we didn't have Lockdown as a pay-per-view this year.
Or Lockdown. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, maybe it'll be called Lockdown.
Yeah, probably.
That does raise an interesting question, because if it is Lockdown, then they would have to have all their matches in cages. So, maybe we'll get the Beautiful People versus the Dollhouse in a cage.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I feel like there's nothing else going on. Maybe James Storm versus Mahabali Shera?
Could be. Or a tag match with them, like Storm and Abyss versus Shera and Manic. Maybe you could have Manic split off from the Revolution next week.
Maybe a rematch between PJ Black and Bobby Roode for the King of the Mountain Championship.
Yeah, or a rematch between Kong and Lady Tapa.
Yeah, maybe. That's a good idea, actually. So we'll see. We'll see what's happening very soon. Bound for Glory is October 4th, so basically a month away exactly. So again, if you enjoyed this episode, you want to hear more, you can find us at fanstalktna.com. And if you really like this episode and you want to see this series continue, all you have to do is just go to fanstalktna.com, click the big green button, and join the Squared Circle of Trust. That will take you over to patreon.com/fanstalk, where you can subscribe for as little as $1 a month to really help support the show, help support us to host all the MP3s and pay for all the services we use like Mixlr and SoundCloud and all that stuff. So yeah, definitely help us out. If you really enjoy what we're doing, lend a hand. With that, let's jump into Win Fail. Did you hear that?
That's a hell of an intro.
I'll have to edit that out. Anyways, all right, Nick, what was your favorite thing that happened this week on Impact?
I think probably the lineup for Lethal Lockdown, the way they determined that. I like that Galloway is leading the forefront here. I like that Lashley's stepping up in a big way. And it should be pretty fun moving forward to the next couple weeks. I'm expecting good things from Galloway versus Mordetsky next week to see who gets the main advantage. And the Lethal Lockdown match itself, that should be some good hardcore fun.
Yeah. I'm along those same lines. I have generally been middle of the road at best with TNA over the last few months. Some of it's been entertaining, but majority of it has kind of gone downhill for me. But this GFW versus TNA thing, like, the more we get to see of it, it's really gaining a lot of steam for me. So I'm really enjoying the interactions between both groups. I like that there is that TNA group that is finally forming and teaming up to face that force. So, yeah, overall, I'm enjoying GFW versus TNA right now. What about fail? What was the worst thing that happened this week for you?
I was going to throw it at King of the Mountain title changing hands. And even that wasn't like a real fail. It's just I think that it's a shame that PJ Black didn't get to hold it longer. But, the more we've been talking, there are just a lot of storylines going on right now that don't make sense. The whole Knockouts division ordeal and Bram coming out for a nothing match against a returning Kenny King, that it seems like if it's not related to GFW versus TNA, it's not getting any attention. It's not getting any creative juices flowing. It's just busy work for the guys. And there's something to be said for busy work. It's a paycheck, so that's nice. But I wish there was something coming out of this. I wish there was purpose to it. I wish that Kenny King coming back after the BDC vanishes from existence meant something.
Yeah. My fail is going to go to the World Heavyweight Championship title race. I mean, we finally got EC3 as champion and nothing. It's been pointless. It's been mediocre story after mediocre story. Stuff that I do not care about. I don't care about Matt Hardy. I don't think he deserves to be in this spot, especially when you have guys like Bobby Roode around. And the whole, and this is a common theme for me as far as what I don't like what TNA is doing, is just the fact that they don't carry over obvious stories. Like they could easily tie EC3 with Team TNA and Dixie, his aunt, to make this like feel a lot more legit and a lot more important. This GFW versus TNA thing happening and it having nothing to do with EC3, I think, is a travesty. He is your top TNA guy. Why doesn't he care about this? Especially because his aunt is Dixie Carter.
Well, why would he back Dixie? She sold him out to Jared in the first place.
In one scenario, she backed him. She backed him for 2 years. One thing is not a big deal to me.
Ever since he became champion, she hasn't backed him on anything. I get why he's not getting involved. I'm not expecting him to turn his coat and join Jeff Jarrett because he doesn't like Jeff Jarrett either.
But he hasn't even acknowledged it. It's it's not even on his radar. Why is that? Isn't it important for the the future of him as champion kind of depends on the future of the company?
I think he's taking the whole a pox on both your houses approach. But yeah, as for the general point itself, they really got screwed when they found that tumor in Angle's neck. I think that's where it was going with EC3 becoming champ, and you would get that, maybe you'd call it a passing of the torch moment, when EC3 went over Angle clean, and now we've got to wait a while for that to happen. So, I don't know, I guess somebody thought the Hardys were a good replacement, and maybe Jeff would have been, but then he broke his leg, so he got Matt.
Right.
Which, I mean, he's no Jeff Hardy, but, he's done decently for himself in singles role. In ROH, he was a pretty prominent member of Scum, so...
True.
Yeah, I just wish that translated.
All right, so we last talked about this in July, and we last talked about this for various reasons. One, I had some schedule conflicts that took importance for me. So I really wasn't thinking about it, and I guess we just didn't expect it to not continue as such. But that is the Fans Talk TNA Championship. We originally crowned it January 7th. Bobby Roode won. Went to Lashley, Angle, EY, Angle, EC3, and then Angle on July 8th. But I want to say it was 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later. That's when all the news came out as far as matching the timeline of TNA, where Angle was going to have to leave to get surgery on his neck. So it has been 2 months now that we have not had an active Fans Talk TNA champion. And I think we should change that. Not now, but I think next week we should officially crown a new Fans Talk TNA champion. So, with that said, Nick and I are probably going to talk about this off air, but I want to hear what you guys have to say. Who do you think best represents you as a fan, us as fans overall, and should represent the podcast as the Fans Talk TNA champion? So definitely post your nominations anywhere you guys are. If you're following us on Twitter or Facebook, let us know. If you're a member of the Squared Circle of Trust, again, use that Slack community to let us know what you think. And YouTube as well. YouTube, there's great conversations that happen after we post the show over there. So definitely check that out as well if you haven't yet. But yeah, who should represent and be the new Fans Talk TNA champion? We'll crown him next week, or her, maybe. We'll see.
Not likely.
Final thoughts before we head out, Nick.
No, that's it. It's just I'm expecting Bobby Roode to get a lot of nominations.
Yeah, me too. All right, that's all the time we have for this edition of Fans Talk TNA, but the conversation doesn't have to stop here. You guys can join us wherever you are, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Google+, Slack. Let us know what you think about the show, the conversation, and where TNA is going with this whole TNA versus GFW feud. Let's keep talking. It doesn't have to be once a week. You can also find us on, well, I already said it. All those links are available on fanstalktna.com. And with that, we'll see you next week. Have a good one, everyone. Bye.